What's up, guys, and welcome back to the DualSense podcast. This is episode 70. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, by my other co-host, Pope on a Rope, also known as Travis. Travis, what's going on today?
Not much. Shout out to our buddy that we play with on Hell Let Loose that we'll never meet in person.
Correct. It's a really funny name. It makes me laugh every time. But you know what? Until this very moment, I did not realize how awful the connotation of the name is.
It's pretty bad
because he's insinuating that he's gonna hang the Pope.
Maybe he just means like dope on a rope, like Ali's defense strategy. It's just the picture of the Pope leaning against the ropes with George Foreman just giving it to him.
Well, I'm way too dark of a soul to think.
Yeah, you went off deep end.
I did. Anyway, can we talk just momentarily about your new vehicle? You recently got a new Honda,
Mm-hmm.
and it has an econ mode and a sport mode.
Yeah,
and we went to lunch today.
By the way, I like to call it X Games mode.
We went to lunch today, and you wanted to show me how in sport mode you can't feel the car shift, which is pretty cool. And then we made a stop, and then we continued on. And you, after the stop, you had it in econ mode, and I asked you if you weren't having as much fun driving the car, and you said no. And would you care to tell people what you compared driving the car in econ mode to?
Yeah, driving the car in econ mode is like fucking. What's her name? It's like fucking Porsche Spice instead of Sporty Spice. I can't think of what she's called. Fuck.
Is it Porsche?
Goth Spice.
Posh Spice? Is that what it is?
Posh Spice, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's remember my own joke.
No, I don't even know which one's which, to be honest. I have no idea. So one of them is David Beckham's wife.
Yeah. One of them got knocked up by David Beckham. I don't know which one that was. Let's say it was Porsche Spice because he probably bought Porsche cars and then just perfect segue into him,
Yeah.
Put my dick in two Porsches.
All right. Well, we went off the rails pretty quick, but anyway.
Hey, that's how you become a top 15 video game podcast on Good Pods.
Amen. So anyway, for the uninitiated or the noobs here to the podcast, we are a weekly podcast, Travis, where you and I get together and discuss. You like how I was telling you like you don't know that? Anyway, we're a weekly podcast where you and I get together and discuss all the news, rumors, new games, and much more in the world of PlayStation, and we do it all in under 90 minutes, and we post new episodes on Mondays on all of the usual podcast services around the world, as well as YouTube, where you can also find some game streams and clips of ours, which we haven't posted in a while, actually. Also, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll be right there waiting for you in your feeds every week. And you can find us on social media at Twitter, at the DualSense Pod, as well as Facebook now and Instagram, also the DualSense Podcast. And we also have a blog at thedualsensepodcast.wordpress.co. Trying to think of anything else, anywhere else we are lately. And as Travis mentioned, we are a top 15 podcast on Good Pods, which is like good reads for podcasts. And I got, much to our surprise, I got an email earlier this week and it said, "Hey, congratulations, you've cracked the top 100 charts." I was thinking, oh, that's cool. What are we, like 99? Are we 100? And I opened it up and it said, lo and behold, that we're number 14 in all video game podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
We're number 14 on all indie video game podcasts, and we're number 20 on the indie leisure category list, which video games are a subgenre of the leisure category on there. So we very much appreciate you guys checking out the show, and we're glad that you are apparently enjoying it somehow, some way. And we're very humbled and appreciative that you check out the show. And without further ado, let's get into the news here. Number one, Ubisoft has finally answered the pleas of fans and greenlit the first mainline Splinter Cell game since 2013's Splinter Cell Blacklist, according to Tom Henderson, who apparently is now a contributing writer for website Video Games Chronicle. Development sources told VGC and Henderson that Ubisoft gave the project the go-ahead, quote, as a means of winning back fans frustrated by recent efforts to revive the franchise in the mobile and VR spaces, end quote. It is unclear which Ubisoft studio is working on the game, although two sources told VGC that it is not Ubisoft Montreal, who are the typical Splinter Cell team. And finally, sources told Henderson and VGC that despite the project being in the early stages of production, a reveal could take place sometime in 2022. Any thoughts?
Lovely that they're not using the studio that typically does the Splinter Cell games. That seems like a bad idea.
It's a good sign, huh?
Whatever, guys. You just stay hot over there. Winning back fans is an interesting way to put things to me. Sure that the franchise did not work on mobile or VR, which I think anybody who plays Splinter Cell probably could have guessed that. I don't really see that game working at all in mobile, and in VR, it seems like it would need to be at such a high level for it to be good. If that makes sense, like it would almost have to be perfect. And you just don't make perfect video games anymore. It's not a thing. And I feel like I say that, of course it is a thing. You can make an argument for any of the Last of Us is anything Naughty Dog's touched lately. But it's just, I don't think you set out with that goal is what I mean. It's not really realistic.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I don't think they have to really win back people because people want this game on console. They want a Splinter Cell. They want a serious, stealthy game that they can play. And to win them back seems like people are going to get the game if it looks like it's good. And that's the bottom line. They'll be defaultly won back. Like for me, if we made a whiteboard of this game and we storyboarded it and we had a list of goals beside that, I wouldn't put win back fans. Like we don't need to, it's fine. It'll be okay. Like that's silly to me, but I just, I've read a bunch of stuff about it. I know you've said this too, that you don't, afraid of what the game could turn into. And I think that's a bigger worry than losing fans or even what studio is working on the game, which branch of Ubisoft is working on this game. The idea that it Splinter Cell is its own thing, and I don't want it to even come close to being in the realm of any other Ubisoft entity. And I'm based off of the people who play these games, Splinter Cell more than I have. It seems like that's a pretty big concern.
Absolutely. I can speak collectively for all of us that is our absolute number one fear, is that Ubisoft, despite whoever the developer is on this project, is going to turn this into what Ubisoft has turned everything else into, meaning Assassin's Creed to people like me who are more fans of some of the older games, like Black Flag, like Origins, which is a big game in a way, but Syndicate, but people like me who are fans of, sort of the little bit older Ubisoft, we're terribly afraid that they're going to bastardize this franchise and make it just some huge open world game that takes 60 hours to complete. It's going to have microtransactions. It's going to have season pass and this and
that. It's going to be a live service.
and then in 4 years they're going to turn it into a free to play battle royale. Like they're doing with every other franchise that they have that's Tom Clancy.
Yeah.
That's a real fear.
They can let the skins go into those. That's fine.
That's a very real fear. And it's not unfounded, in my opinion, because, we can just look at Ubisoft and see what their track record is lately. Like I said, and, we're getting Ghost Recon Frontlines, free-to-play Battle Royale. They've turned The Division into free-to-play, in Heartland. And then we've got that Tom Clancy's X-Defiant, another free-to-play shooter. So it's worrisome, that's for sure. But what if they really want to win back the fans, then they need to make a classic in the sense of, the classic Splinter Cell style games. That's what we want. And if it's a long game, if it's a 25 to 30 hour game, that's fine. No problem with that. Don't give us a battle royale. Don't give us a huge open world per se. Okay. But I will say it is, I guess the fact that they made the comment that they're trying to win back fans is a glimmer of hope, because maybe they're listening a little bit at the very least. However, they haven't been listening for how long, because they haven't made a game in a decade, and we've been asking for all that time. So that's the flip side of
Right.
that coin as well. But we'll see. It's exciting news if they can
Mhm.
pay attention and they can execute, and they don't try to screw us over with a bunch of bullshit.
You said an interesting thing that I think is very relevant to this conversation that I haven't really heard before, which was you're a fan of old Ubisoft as opposed
Mm,
to new Ubisoft, and the fact is new Ubisoft is making the game. So
yeah, yeah,
it's hard to imagine that they make an old school game. Like I agree with you. A part of what makes I know that Hitman is a sandbox, and in a sense,
yeah. It is.
in a sense, it's an open world, but in a sense, it's not.
Yeah.
I feel like for a game like Splinter Cell or even Metal Gear, like they're better when
Mm,
you're kind of tunneled into where you need to go.
yeah.
And you can have multiple ways of maybe dealing with issues or completing a task, but it
Yes.
keeps your parameters short and narrow. And like
Hmm.
we still like games like that. Ghost of Tsushima is technically an open world, but like when you're doing the things you're doing, it's very contained.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a game like that. I just wish these studios understood that. I don't know if they don't understand it or if they have some sort of data that says it doesn't work anymore. I don't know.
It could be, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think Hitman, if you took some, not necessarily like beat for beat, but if you took some of that Hitman formula in the sense of like, in the sense that you give us levels that have choice, that
Mhm,
have some openness to them, within the mission structure of Splinter Cell, that would be totally fine. But just
mhm.
don't just give us this gigantic Assassin's Creed map that you're going to brag about how many square kilometers it is and shit. Like, we don't fucking want that, guys. It's not Ghost Recon Wildlands. It's not Assassin's Creed. So just
Right. We're
just
sick
pay
of fast
attention.
travel.
Yeah, exactly. So just pay attention. That's all we're asking. Pay attention. Number two, industry sales analytics firm, the NPD Group, released September's video game sales data this week. The big headline is that the PlayStation 5 was the United States' best selling hardware platform in both units and dollar sales for the month, ending a 33-month streak held by the Nintendo Switch.
Suck it, Japan.
Other no, it's like it makes me think of that meme because Sony is in Japan too. It makes me think of the meme where they're the guy sitting in the church pew, and then it's himself behind him with a gun to his head.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, other notable sales data includes the best-selling games on both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, which are number one, Madden NFL 22, followed by FIFA 22, NBA 2K22, Deathloop, which was number 6 on the overall list, regardless of platform. 5 was Tales of Arise, followed by Ghost of Tsushima, which was number 8 overall, followed by Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was 9 overall, and then Diablo 2 Resurrected, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and number 10 was Life is Strange True Colors. Any thoughts on any of this?
Well, I guess, no surprise there that the top 3 are sports games that all came out in the last 30 days or 45
Right.
days, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think Deathloop being at 4 and 6 overall is pretty impressive. I
Yeah.
didn't expect it to hang up there that high, at least at this point, and I'm also surprised that Ghost of Tsushima is 8 overall and ahead of
Yeah.
Marvel's Spider-Man. I didn't think that would ever pass Spider-Man. It's interesting that it's up there. I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of times when we get these lists, like after you get past like the 7th game, like 8 through 10 can be just out of bounds, completely weird. And that's what I feel like we have here. Like I don't know what's happening in those last 3. Like why is
Yeah.
Life is Strange there? Like, it's whatever. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that to me the most interesting is that Deathloop is that high.
Yeah. I think that obviously the big takeaway is that PlayStation 5 found a way to dethrone the Nintendo Switch, which had a stranglehold on the hardware market for nearly 3 years. So
Mhm.
that's a
Well,
that's a pretty
everybody has one now. Maybe that's part of it.
that could be it, because they don't have a new model of Switch other than the OLED model that just came out. But there's not there's not a
Switch 2.
apps. Yeah, there's not a Switch 2. There's not a Switch Pro, whatever. So that's a good point. It'll be interesting to see if this trend continues into the next month, and then we'll know if it was just a blip on the radar or if there's a shift here. And then one thing that stood out to me about the list is that MLB The Show is not on here for, I think, maybe the first time. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting that the show sales have really tailed off here, but it is getting to football and basketball season, so I guess not too big of a surprise. Deathloop debuting at number 4, that's pretty good, as you
I
said.
mean, it's the only non-sports game. I mean,
It is. It's the number 1
the best
non-sports game.
Yeah.
So, and it is, Madden, FIFA, NBA, those are all juggernauts annually, regardless. So, Deathloop, pretty good there. Let's see. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, that is a good point about it being number 8 and now being ahead of Miles Morales. So, that's about it, really. But we'll see what PS5 does next month in hardware sales. Number 3, to no one's surprise, Travis, Sony Santa Monica Studio announced on the PlayStation blog this week that 2018's God of War will be coming to PC platforms on January the 14th. The developer also revealed that the franchise reboot has sold 19.5 million copies on PS4 as of August 2021. The PC version will feature true 4K and unlocked frame rate, as well as a myriad of other graphical options typical on PC, such as ambient occlusion and improved reflections, as well as NVIDIA's deep learning super sampling and reflex low latency technology. And finally, the PC port will include full support for the DualShock 4 and DualSense controllers. So, what do you think? Are you surprised by this at all?
If you're playing PC games with controllers, like, what are you doing this for? Just because you get better graphical fidelity? Is that all you're getting out of having a PC at that point?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll buy that. I guess that's enough. Not for me. I mean, I wouldn't spend, $1,500 on a badass PC to play it on a controller. Like, I feel like I'd want to use a mouse and keyboard. Like, at that point, why not just be a PC master race?
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Again, this is in the long line of PlayStation exclusives hitting the PC. It's going to be more and more common. I guess for the foreseeable future, this is what we're going to have. At some point, all of our exclusives will make their way to PC, which is cool. I mean, I'm sure it will look badass in true 4K with an unlocked frame rate. That'll be really cool. Improved reflections are always interesting. Like, and maybe this goes back to, are we going to talk about the GTA trailer? Is that on our
Yes.
list? I didn't get that far down.
We're going to talk about it. Yeah.
All right. But anyway, improved reflections is like one of those things that you don't even register. And then, like, it's like subconscious. You're like, man, this looks really nice, or you're something about it's really, really grabbing you about the game. And then it's little things like that, or ray tracing, little bitty things that seem like I don't know, they get hyped up so much that I think people have bigger expectations of them than they really are. But I think on the surface level, when you look at things like that, they add a depth to the game that kind of it almost hides in plain sight. If you weren't aware of them, you wouldn't look for them, if that makes sense. But it adds a depth of feel. So yeah, I'm sure. Like really, the two, again, no, like you said, no surprise. This is going to keep happening, but I'm sure it'll look awesome.
Yeah, and I think now we just have to figure out what the next game is going to be. If you remember a while back now, there was that leak that Uncharted 4 was going to be coming to PC, which I guess they've already announced that, though. Yeah, they already announced that because they're calling it the Thieves Collection, the Thieves End Collection, or something like that. So I guess that's already happening. So I wonder what's coming after God of War. I guess we don't know for sure, but like you said, yeah, it's going to keep happening, and it'll just be after these games have been out for a couple years or so. The biggest takeaway for me from all of this is that God of War has sold almost 20 million copies on PS4, which is insane, really, for that style of game, and really for a Sony game in general. So that's quite a success, critically and commercially. Number 4, a flurry of intriguing PlayStation rumors emerged this week. For starters, Sony Interactive Entertainment posted a job for a senior software engineer to work on PS5's rendering API, and specifically mentions working on, quote, the architecture of multiple generations of PlayStation consoles, end quote. Perhaps hinting at the no doubt in development PS5 Pro. Also, a new report from someplace called Marzipan Games claims that Sony has around $13 to $18 billion in the budget for further acquisitions. And finally, a new rumor from Xbox Era podcast host Nick Baker claims that Bloodborne 2 is indeed in development at newly acquired Bluepoint Games, In addition, Baker claims that a Bloodborne PC port is complete and that Bluepoint will also be remastering the original for PlayStation 5. Any thoughts?
Oh, I'll start at the bottom. Nothing about the Bloodborne stuff is surprising. I thought we already
Yeah.
knew that. And also, Nick Baker can lick my asshole since he has an Xbox podcast. I'm just kidding. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Probably the nicest guy on the planet.
He probably is. He has a nice name.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, if Sony wants to, throw like 10 grand at us to buy out the podcast, that's cool. I mean, you got some money to spare. I'm not asking for $1 billion. I don't want to be, I'm not trying to be Elon Musk. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So in regards to the job posting, obviously, I hope to God it means that it's a PS5 Pro. I do not want that to mean at all that they're working on the PS4 still. I don't need that.
Yeah, I agree.
So, for the love of God, please let that be the PS5 Pro.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
It has to be, because there's no shot they're even thinking about what the 6 can do in any real way at this point. I think that's unrealistic. They might be a few years away from that, but yeah, my presumption is it would be the 5 Pro, and this may be the first Pro, just based off of this job description, that I would be interested in buying. I didn't buy the PS4 Pro. I didn't buy the only upgrade I remember buying was I think I got a PS3 Slim. And the only reason I got that was because my big fat PS3 was about to die. It was just like gargling when I turned it on, so I didn't really have a choice. But this might be the first Pro upgrade I would get. Of course, I'll have to get like a 9K TV or something, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So I'm a little skeptical. I'm kind of just jumping in the middle here, but I'm a little skeptical of that 13 to 18 billion dollar number that Sony has that much for further acquisitions. Now, let me back up. If it's Sony as a company, okay, the entire company, I can probably buy that. Like, if it's just PlayStation, there's no way. Like, they're not going to give PlayStation $13 billion because if you think about it, it cost Xbox, Microsoft $4.5 billion to buy Bethesda. So I guess maybe if that's company wide, Sony wide, then yeah, I guess I could buy that. So, but
yeah, it's true.
I would love to know what the breakdown is. Like, does the PlayStation, meaning Sony Interactive Entertainment, is that division? Does that mean they have 5 billion or do they have 2 billion? Like, what do they have? So I think that's more likely than saying PlayStation has 13 to 18 billion. That just seems not accurate. And then
I got $500,000 in this motherfucker.
Bank of America. But I'm like you. I hope that this is the PS5 Pro because no offense to you guys still playing on PS4, but it's time, right? Like, it's time. I mean, I hope you guys are able to get your PS5, but it's time. We got to go. It's time to go. Like, we can't hold the plane, at the terminal anymore. We got to go.
Yeah, it's the last fucking chopper out of Vietnam.
Exactly. We got to fucking get there, guys. We got to get there. So definitely hope that as well. And then, like you said, the Bloodborne stuff, it's just rumors and speculation at this point, but there's so much, like we talk about, there's so much smoke behind this now that it's a foregone conclusion. Like, we know for a fact Bluepoint's working on Bloodborne. That's on the way. So exciting stuff. People have been begging for that, much like we've been begging for a Splinter Cell game. Much higher chance that you get a good remaster of Bloodborne and a good sequel than we get a decent Splinter Cell game, by the way. Number 5, Sony Pictures and PlayStation Productions revealed the first trailer for the upcoming Uncharted film this week, Travis, featuring Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg as Sully, and Antonio Banderas as the movie's antagonist. I still don't know that guy's name. The trailer featured the series' signature action, a touch of humor, and a major set piece involving a cargo plane that is ripped straight from the games. Uncharted will release in theaters on February the 11th in the United Kingdom and February the 18th in the United States. What do you think? Did you watch it?
Yes, I did. Did you know the United Kingdom is multiple countries?
I did. Yeah.
And so what is Great Britain then? Multiple countries, but less than United Kingdom?
Haven't we talked about this? Didn't we look this up on the show one time? So
I don't know. It wasn't that important for me to remember it.
So it's United Kingdom, and then within the United Kingdom, you have Britain, which is like a state here in the States, and then you have Wales, and then you have Ireland, and then Northern Ireland, I think, is the 4 states, if you will, that make up
What is Scotland?
the UK. Oh, Scotland. Yeah. So 5. So I guess there's 5 states, if you will, that make up the UK, I think. Anyway, continue.
Just because that makes sense. Anyway, what a cool political system that can't use euros anymore.
Mm.
Just write it in. Just write in and let me know. Write in and let me know because I do love the Scotland. I'm a big Scotland fan.
Oh, I love the
Mostly of your
UK.
accents. You can't. I don't know what the hell you're saying. There's a girl on the Great British Bake Off. I don't know what the fuck she's saying. She has orange in her hair. Every time she talks, I just put my hands up. Like I don't know what she's saying. Unrelated. I think we were all skeptical about this movie, especially after what Tom Holland said and some other things that we've heard from production and kind of I know, post filming, I guess you could say. But I thought the trailer actually looked really good. What we saw of Tom Holland wasn't that bad. Mark Wahlberg actually seemed like a decent Sully. Even the stuff that Tom Holland was saying sounded like Nathan Drake. Obviously, I mean, they wrote the part after him, but like it didn't feel forced and it didn't feel like he was being a shitty actor either, which is what I was assuming was going to happen. So we seem to have dodged those bullets a little bit. The set piece out of the plane, like when he's jumping into those boxes, it looks just like the game. Like
It
the way that
does.
you almost jump like an ape sometimes, and
Yeah.
he looks like that coming out those boxes, and like his humor that they've kept from the game, it seems to translate to the movie really well. Especially like one of the things I really liked. I don't know if it'll be in the movie, but did you notice like in the trailer they would pop up the words like in John Wick?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I haven't gotten the chance to look, but I wondered if it was like a producer that's worked on both of those movies, or if it's a similar type feel. But yeah, I mean, I've went from being not interested in the movie because I was afraid it was going to ruin one of my favorite games to now I'm pretty optimistic about it. It might be the most I've been excited for a video game movie just based on a trailer.
Yeah, I agree. I went from highly, highly skeptical to excited for it. I think, I mean, this isn't, I don't know if this is the majority opinion. I feel like it's pretty 50-50 online, but I think the trailer was actually very good. And that may in part be because my expectations were so low, but I was really pleased with it and surprised by it. And I think it looks, like I mentioned in the write up, it's got all those kind of beats and touches that we're used to from the games. The two things that I did want to mention that I think people are kind of hung up on or not feeling or whatever are the look of the characters and how they don't look like necessarily people from the game. Like obviously Tom Holland doesn't look like Nathan Drake.
Right.
Mark Wahlberg doesn't look like Sully per se. I have a theory that PlayStation Productions is preparing to make this a series or at least a trilogy, and that the idea is that these are young versions of these characters in a way, and that obviously the people are going to get older if they make 3 movies over 10 years or whatever. So I feel like that's the reason possibly behind that. I'm just totally speculating. You guys know I love a good conspiracy. And the other thing is that, oh man, I forgot the other thing.
Oh, they did tie in his brother into the trailer too, though, that we had in the last game.
Yeah, that's really interesting that they pulled him in from
Yeah,
the
I didn't
fourth
expect that.
movie or the fourth game. Anyway, forgot my last point, but I think that's just my theory on why they look so young. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is that I'm having some issues tonight, but the other thing I was going to say is that kind of hand in hand with that are the fact that it's not, they don't want it to be the video game per se. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
if you just try to straight up copy the game, then you're never going to win anyway. But if you say, hey, this is Uncharted and we're kind of doing our own take on that universe, that storyline, and this is it. So I think that's also part of what they're trying to do too. And I
It
appreciate
definitely
that.
opens the door. Gives you a little bit more of a chance of success.
Number 6, several PlayStation exclusives have been nominated for the Games Radar's 39th Annual Golden Joysticks Awards. Deathloop was nominated for Best Multiplayer Game, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for Best Visual Design, Housemarque for Studio of the Year, Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island for Best Game Expansion, Returnal for Best Audio, Jason Kelly for Best Performer as Colt Vaughn, and Deathloop Ozioma Akaga for Best Performer as Juliana Blake in Deathloop, Jennifer Hell as Rivet in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for Best Performance, Dreams for Best Game Community, God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West for Most Wanted Games. The PS5 was nominated for Best Gaming Hardware. Returnal, Deathloop, Ratchet and Clank, Death Stranding, Director's Cut, and Kena Bridge of Spirits were all nominated for PlayStation Game of the Year. And finally, Deathloop and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart were both nominated for the overall Game of the Year. Does anything stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, none of that's really terribly surprising. Housemarque for Studio of the Year is pretty dope. That's pretty sweet. You know, if I was them, I'd be like, "Fuck yeah!" Feel like we finally did something. Dreams for Best Game Community, which is interesting. I'd love to know how they developed that. Now, I assume it's because the community in Dreams has built so much stuff, so that makes sense. But
Yeah.
like, the Hell Let Loose community is pretty cool. Everybody that we played with that takes it seriously. Not only are they willing to help you out if you do something stupid, but they work together pretty well. At least our group does. So I think that might be something that maybe next year could get nominated.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Kena Bridge of Spirits made it for PlayStation Game of the Year. That's pretty cool for those guys. I know that
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that there, before it came out, there was some rumblings that it might not be as good as people thought, but it seems like it's been great from everything I've seen. I am surprised to see the Death Stranding director's cut make that. I
Mm.
wonder if that's, I don't know. That just feels a little bit insider baseball to me. Like, I don't really know that did enough to qualify, but maybe there's not really anything else to pick from as far as they're
Yeah.
concerned. But yeah, I mean, nothing there is too surprising. Maybe overall game of the year not having Returnal might be surprising for some people,
Yeah, I
especially
would agree.
with Deathloop jumping it, and they're the same kind of loop type game.
Yeah.
So that implies that Deathloop is better than Returnal, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. It's apples and oranges at the end of the day. They're both foods, but they're different.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Go ahead.
no, that's it. I mean, I really like the Golden Joystick name, and I can't believe it's been around for 40 years. It's been around since the 80s.
Right. Which surprised me. I did not know that. I did not know that. I didn't realize Games Radar has been around for that long. I'm sure they probably had a different name, but
Right.
yeah, I would agree with you that Death Stranding Director's Cut is kind of weird being nominated for PlayStation Game of the Year. I mean, I know that I've heard nothing but good things about it, but I don't know about that. I don't get it. I guess maybe I would feel differently if I played the Director's Cut. In terms of the other stuff, Returnal is I mean, to me, Returnal is like a shoe in for the best audio, I think.
Okay.
It's very
Why is that?
incredible.
Oh, I
It's
guess
just,
because it moves around a lot in your headset.
yeah, it's really great implementation of the 3D audio, in my opinion. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. And in terms of game of the year, I'm trying to think if Deathloop and Ratchet and Clank, if either one have a real chance. I don't know what really that they're up against. I'm sure there's obviously some other very good games, but I would say Deathloop probably has the best chance of the two of winning overall game of the year. But we'll see.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank doesn't seem serious enough. Not that Deathloop. I guess Deathloop's kind of goofy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's hard to imagine a game like Ratchet and Clank winning game of the year. It would be like, I don't know. It would be like, you
Boise
know,
State beating Oklahoma.
yeah, it would be like, yeah, exactly. It would be like Knack or like a Lego
Oh
Batman
yeah,
game winning game of the year or something. I don't know. Probably not a great comparison, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I don't remember when they are actually going to be. I guess I could have wrote that in here, but anyway, I'll update you guys and let you know when those are actually going to be at some point.
not important.
Not important. Probably December. It's a safe bet. Number 7, Rockstar finally pulled back the curtains on the upcoming Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy, the definitive edition on Friday. As previously leaked, the collection will feature higher resolution textures, revamped lighting, increased draw distances, and on PlayStation 5, 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. We also got confirmation that Grand Theft Auto 5 style controls have been brought to the classic games, including an improved targeting system. We also learned that the remasters have added mission restarts and GPS waypoints for a much more modern touch. The remastered trilogy will launch digitally on PS4 and PS5 on November 11th, with a physical version coming on December the 6th. And as a nice surprise, Grand Theft Auto 3, the definitive edition, will be added to the PlayStation Now service on December the 7th. What do you think?
I watched the trailer, like I told you earlier today. It's still it still doesn't like light a fire under me. Yes, it looks better. I mean, it literally looks like the game before that has been cleaned up, and that's exactly what they did. There is no trick marketing here. It is, it's everything is the textures are crisper, it's clearer, brighter. Because like I do feel like when I think about those games in the past, they had a certain like dinginess to them or like a tint to them, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to
Yeah.
explain it, but
No, I know what you're
maybe
saying.
just the crispness of the textures kind of cleaned all that up. But yeah, it looks a lot better. They still have blockheads, which part of me is like, just make it look like GTA 5. I know it's not realistic, but part of me just
Yeah.
thinks, what's the point of doing it without doing that? But having the blockheads is a bit nostalgic and it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if the new controls, there is a mission I never beat. I can't remember if it was GTA 3 or if it was San Andreas, but you have to fly like an airplane, like a remote control airplane and follow this van.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't beat it. Never could beat it. I actually quit playing the game. That's how annoyed I got. I just stopped playing the
Really?
game. Never beat it. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah. I remember that mission you're talking about, though.
Was that 4? I don't know. It was one of those. It was one of those. I don't know. I
Yeah.
quit playing the game, so I wonder if these new targeting system, because I think you had to like shoot something maybe or take a picture. I wonder if
Mm.
these new targeting systems or these new style controls will make that easier. I mean, honestly, if you told me that it made that mission easier, I would probably replay the game just to beat it because it's always bothered me that I could never beat it.
Yeah, I think that it probably will fix that issue for you, and I think that was one of the things that I saw that people were hoping for the most is that they would update the controls because, I mean, they're PS2 games, they're not going to control very well
Mhm.
anymore, and I'm sure that if we went back and tried to play the PS2 versions right now that we'd be like, "Holy shit," and so, so anyway, I am pretty excited for this, I think. And I really didn't have any expectations again for this either. I knew it was coming and I, hadn't really thought about getting it. I just thought like, oh, okay, cool. They're going to just kind of do a couple things like up the resolution, whatever. But after seeing the trailer and reading what all they're doing, it's a pretty extensive remaster in my opinion. And I hear you on the character models and stuff, but I think that they were trying to just maintain the feel and the charm of the old games, because at some point, like
Mhm.
we talked about last week, or yeah, last week, at some point a remake or a remaster becomes a remake. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And I don't think they wanted to go that far, but I think they wanted to make a substantial upgrade, and I think they've done that. I think they've I mean, without having played the game, but just based on what they're telling us and showing us, I think that they've accomplished that. But we'll see if it actually is as good as it looks when it comes out. I am leaning towards getting it. It is $60. Some people are complaining about that. I think that's
20
reasonable in
bucks a
my
game.
yeah, I think it's reasonable in my opinion. $20 a game for a remaster, and I don't see any issue with that. If you're on the fence, then just wait until December the 7th and try the first one, which is the third game on PlayStation Now, and then you can make up your mind. But I think I'm there. Number 8, we also have a lot of news nuggets, Travis. We have so many, in fact, that I broke Microsoft Word earlier today when I was trying to type because we got into the triple letters here toward the end of the little bullet points. So here we go. First nugget: PlayStation announced a new State of Play stream for Wednesday, October the 27th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. The presentation will be around 20 minutes and include, quote, new looks at previously announced games from plus a few reveals from our partners around the world, end quote. And I forgot to note here, but they did say that this showcase will be only third-party developers. So, do you have any thoughts really quick here about what we may see? Anything you're hoping for?
I have no idea what we'll see.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I just wanna learn stuff about Gran Turismo, and
Yeah.
that's not gonna fall in here, so I don't really know what we'll see.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if we got another Rockstar trailer.
Yeah, it could be. I think that you're going to see Gran Turismo stuff in December. I think they're going to do another event in December, and we'll have some first party stuff, maybe second party stuff. This is kind of a nice surprise. People for a while that were clamoring for Sony to do something, and then it's kind of fallen off, and things have just been kind of we're just cruising along here. We've got games coming out now. it's fall. There's a bunch of stuff coming out in the holiday season, so we haven't really been thinking about it. Then they just pop up with this. So this is a nice little surprise. I have a couple of guesses that we're going to see, like that Hogwarts Legacy game. Maybe we'll see Final Fantasy 16, possibly. I think we're going to see a couple of indies. I'm hoping, as always, that we get an update on Little Devil Inside. I'm going to try to keep willing that into existence. I don't know if that game even exists anymore, but I really hope Little Devil Inside is there. That's my number one request.
Yeah,
So we'll
you
see.
keep shoveling coal in that train you're driving.
Exactly. Next nugget, developer CD Projekt Red announced that the PlayStation 5 versions of both Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 have been delayed to 2022. Cyberpunk will release sometime in the first quarter of next year, while The Witcher 3 has been pushed to the second quarter. It's weird that the newer game is going to come out. Well, I guess that's not totally weird. I guess that makes a little bit of sense now that I think about that. But anyway, they've been delayed.
Yeah, it seems like their Cyberpunk failure is leaking over into The Witcher now. I know it's just a PS5 version, but now it's starting to feel like a company wide thing that's a problem, as opposed to just like the unit that worked on Cyberpunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, speaking of company wide, CD Projekt also announced this week that they have acquired developer The Molasses Flood, the studio behind The Flame in the Flood and Drake Hollow, and they've already been put to work on their own game based on one of CD Projekt Red's IPs.
So that's what you were trying to say.
Yeah, not their own their own game.
I was like, what is cam based? What does that mean?
So they're so busy trying to remaster or remake shit, whatever, upgrade shit. They had to go buy a team to make a real game, make a new game. Anyway, that's not probably really what happened, but
from the money they promised to refund people.
Probably. Also, we learned this week that Gran Turismo 7 will have an updated damage model apparently, and fan favorite original Gran Turismo track Deep Forest will be making its return. You excited?
Oh yeah, we've been wanting that for a while. A lot of us were not upset. We were just annoyed when it wasn't on GT Sport. Deep Forest is just a fun old track. It's technical, but it's fast. It's always looked nice on the older games, so it'll be cool to see what it looks like upgraded. It's a game that they made. Polyphony made it a game. Obviously, it's a fucking track. Is what I meant.
Yeah.
But like I've told you before, they do a really good job with their own tracks, with elevation and different types of corners, and they made tracks that are hard to pass on, that are easy to pass on, that are technical, that are just super speedways basically. So yeah, anyway, it's just a nice nostalgic fallback.
Next nugget, PlayStation characters have invaded the firm's UEFA Champions League promotional campaign, as the likes of Kratos, Aloy, and Ratchet and Clank can all be seen in the latest official sponsor for broadcast ads. In the latest official sponsor broadcast ads. Having another stroke. Warner Brothers revealed new trailers for both Suicide Squad, Killed the Justice League, and Gotham Knights at the DC Fandom event last weekend. Developer 2 Point Interactive shared that their upcoming physics-based space station maintenance game, Heavenly Bodies, will support the PS5's features, including DualSense and 3D audio, on the PlayStation blog this week.
I just imagined Theme Hospital, but you're in heaven, and like all these dead people are coming into heaven, and you have to fix their body. Because like in heaven, you're supposed to have all your ailments gone, so they're coming in, and you're like fixing them in the heaven hospital.
Yeah.
I was way off base.
You were. This is more like Gang Beasts meets Space Station Simulator. It looks pretty fun actually and funny, but it's only local co-op, so that sucks. Also, website Push Square reported that Halo creator Marcus Lato has joined Electronic Arts as a game director at a new Seattle-based studio that is focused on making first-person games.
Oh, sweet! They're bringing NBA Live back. This guy's driving the wagon.
A first-person NBA Live. Let's see here. Also, Arcade Racer Hot Wheels Unleashed is adding Batman-themed content with the DC Supervillains racing season, which runs November 11th through January the 18th. The season will include both free and paid content for players, and on December the 2nd, the game's first major DLC called the Batman Expansion will bring a new career map inspired by Gotham City and the Batcave as a new environment.
Man, You know how like when we're driving on the road and I see a piece of wood and I'm like, I want that.
Yeah,
That's how I feel about this. I'm like, I want that.
I agree.
I want that Batman car.
Man, I want that Batman car. I want that Batmobile. I'm not gonna lie. I was already intrigued by this game because we've talked about the really good reviews
Right.
it's gotten, and then they come out with this as their first expansion and add-on content, and I was like, "Ooh, fucking a!"
I like Batman. I like cars. I like Bat
Yeah,
caves.
yeah, like cars, like caves. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's tempting.
I like the month of December.
Also, Assassin's Creed Valhalla received its free Viking Age Discovery Tour update this week. If you want to learn something about Vikings, PS5 faceplate company D-Brand, or D-Bag, has redesigned and brought back their black faceplates called Dark Plates 2.0. D-Brand dared Sony to sue over the redesigned plates, writing on Reddit, quote, "If they want to try, they better be ready to pay our legal fees," end quote.
Mhm. But they want to fuck around and find out. That's what that says.
That's basically a nice way of saying they can fuck around and find out.
By the way, D-Brand, if you go up just rewind a couple of minutes, they have like $15 billion. Just let them have it. You're not going to win.
Yeah, exactly. These guys are, I don't know why they're trying to poke the bear. Just make your shit and sell it and be quiet. Maybe they'll leave you alone.
I love that it's on Reddit. I imagine that there's a post and then like 55 comments down, they said that.
Yeah, it's like the CEO of the company, like, hey, they want to fuck around, they can find out. Next nugget, Sony Pictures Entertainment has sold GSN Games to smartphone gaming giant Scopely for $1 billion with a B dollars. For reference, Sony acquired television's game show network back in 2019, including their video game subsidiary GSN Games, which was tasked with developing online and mobile gambling games like Wheel of Fortune. The upcoming Elden Ring from developer From Software has been delayed from January 21st to February the 25th. However, in a bit of good news, publisher Bandai Namco announced a closed network test will take place from November the 12th through November 15th. Interested players can register now for a chance to play the test on Bandai Namco's website. Ubisoft's upcoming open world extreme sports game, Riders Republic, will get a free 4-hour trial on both PS4 and PS5. The trial will be available from October 21st through October 27th, so up until the release date. PlayStation released a limited beta update for the PlayStation app on mobile devices this week, allowing PS5 users to upload screenshots and video captures, which can then be viewed and shared through the app. The beta is currently only available in Japan and Canada for iOS users only. No Man's Sky received its fourth expedition this week called Emergence, and it focuses on events around gigantic sandworms.
Fuck that.
Yes.
Tremors bullshit.
It is some Tremors bullshit.
You know what also has a giant sandworm?
Who?
Dune.
I thought you were going to say you.
No, I don't know about your sandworms.
Also, Vampire received a surprise PS5 patch this week, boosting the game's performance to 60 frames per second and 1440p resolution. God.
Your voice died.
I did. It just shut off. And I'll have something to say about this a little bit later in the show. Next nugget, a new Ps5 firmware update dropped this week, and you guessed it, it improves system performance. Sony had a new patent approved recently that would allow streamers and viewers to temporarily or permanently remove players from multiplayer games, and we've reported on this before on the show that it was a filed patent, but it has since then been approved. DICE revealed the remaining 5 launch specialists for Battlefield 2042 this week, as well as a breakdown of what changes are incoming for the game's launch on November the 19th or November the 12th. If you get the gold edition, Travis, you can read a full breakdown on their website if interested, but suffice it to say that many of our complaints have been addressed, while some have not. Post-noir narrative adventure game Backbone is coming to PS4 and PS5 on October the 28th.
When did noir end?
Noir end?
Yes, his post-noir. When
post-noir. I don't know.
When did it start? I don't know any of those answers.
Yeah. I don't know. Post-dark. I don't know. That's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought about that. Also, Bithell Games announced that Twisted Classic card puzzle game, The Solitaire Conspiracy, will come to PS5 on November the 3rd.
That's what they called it. Isn't that what it was called when Epstein hung himself? The solitaire conspiracy?
Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that Chinese publishing giant NetEase Games have acquired developer Grasshopper Manufacture, which is led
Yeah.
by Suda51.
They make okay. Well, first of all, Suda51 is a gamer. That's not anything. It's just a dude who plays games as a screen name. And I think Grasshopper makes mowers.
They do. It's also one hell of a cookie.
A grasshopper cookie?
Yeah.
What's that?
Never had a grasshopper cookie?
I've never had a grasshopper.
Oh wow.
What are you talking about?
It's the Keebler brand of Thin Mint, Girl Scout Thin Mints. They call them
Okay,
grasshoppers.
here we go. Jesus Christ. I went to a fucking county school. We didn't have Keebler Elf.
Jesus Christ. You never had a little Keebler Elf grasshopper cookie. Wow.
No, what does it taste like?
What a fucking life. It tastes just like a Thin Mint, a Girl Scout Thin Mint.
Why would I not just get a Thin Mint? It's cheaper.
What? There's
It's
no
cheaper.
fucking way. Those fucking Girl Scout Thin Mints you know how expensive those things are? You can get you probably get 15 of those for like $10. You can get, 40 from Keebler for whatever, $3.
First of all, they're not called the Girl Scouts anymore, you sexist asshole.
What do they call them then?
They're all the Scouts.
Oh, then
There's
why
no
did
sex anymore?
Why did this lady call me the other day and say, "Hi, this is so and so from the Girl Scouts"? Literally called me at work and identified herself as a Girl Scout troop leader.
Why do people still drive around with a Confederate flag?
Okay, touche. That's a fair point. Yeah, man, I remember the way it was. I remember when we used to call the Scouts Girl Scouts, and I remember when we used to have this country divided into two different countries.
The way it should have been.
Jesus Christ, what a time. Okay, all good points. Anyway, next, we're getting off the rails here. Next nugget. Xbox Game Studios executive Matt Booty praised PlayStation's great name, PlayStation's blockbuster game pipeline this week, telling Kinda Funny Games, terrible name, quote, hats off to Sony and their studio system and the leaders that they've got there. I mean, it's fantastic. You can't argue with the quality and the craft and the games that they've delivered, end quote. So,
I mean, I basically only play theirs. I don't even know what we have.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice little compliment from Matt there. It's, not console warring stuff. So that was kind of him.
Mm-hmm.
Publisher Square Enix shared footage of its canceled game Tomb Raider Ascension as part of Tomb Raider's 25th anniversary. The title was a horror game in development at Crystal Dynamics, which later morphed into the 2013 reboot. And I watched a brief snippet of this, and it looked awful. I can see why they didn't go that route. Also, abandoned developer Blue Box Game Studios said in a statement on Twitter that they have been receiving death threats and have asked the authorities to get involved. So they brought it up. I mean, that's, first of all, that sucks. You shouldn't. That's terrible. They shouldn't be getting their lives threatened over a fucking video game. But you have to also have some awareness. Like, it's 2021. People are fucking stupid, and you egged it on. You got to quit, and then they have quit. But
yeah, also it's like not that serious.
Yeah,
I mean, like guys. Guys, like we don't need to death threat people. Like it's I mean, they're being kind of douchey about some stuff, but that doesn't mean we have to murder them.
Yeah, don't threaten somebody's life over a game you're going to forget about in fucking 2 years. Next nugget, a recently updated page on Ubisoft's website reveals that the upcoming Rainbow Six Extraction is scheduled to release on January 20th. Activision Blizzard's Fran Townsend told employees in an email that 20 people have been fired from the company thus far, with another 20 being disciplined from all of their scandal going on over there. Bungie announced that in addition to the Witch Queen expansion and season passes being paid add-ons, dungeons added in Year 5 will now also be separate purchase options. Oddworld Soulstorm will get an enhanced edition at some point in the future that will be free to current owners on PS4 and PS5. Website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: SnowRunner, Fallout 76, Minecraft, Neverwinter, Black Desert Online, Fortnite, World War Z, Call of Duty Warzone, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Hunt Showdown, Aliens Fireteam Elite, Fall Guys, and Apex Legends. So if you're waiting for something to be fixed, now's the time to check. Call of Duty Vanguard will weigh in at just under 27 gigabytes on your PS5 without the day one patch, according to Twitter handle PlayStation Size. Can't be real. Like, there's no way that game's going to be 27 gigs. So that day one patch has to be gigantic because you know it's going to be over 100 gigs. I mean, it
That's
just
a
is.
huge fucking patch. It's not a patch. That means the game is the patch.
Exactly. It's going to be gigantic. So don't get your hopes up. Also, over 30,000 FIFA 22 players have been hit with a 7-day ban from EA Sports for exploiting a no-loss glitch in the Ultimate Team mode, where if you were losing, you could hit the PlayStation button and dashboard, and it wouldn't count as a loss.
Oh, well, again, guys, it's not that serious.
Yeah, agreed. Just take the L.
Yeah, just don't spend $50,000 on foot credits or whatever, and that's probably why you're doing it.
Yeah, no shit. Also, a Rockstar job listing for a visual effects artist suggests that Grand Theft Auto 6 may have destructible skyscrapers. Very intriguing.
That seems depressing.
Why?
Because that is like every online lobby, all the skyscrapers are going to be down. It's going to look like Baghdad.
It's going to look like New York on 9/11.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's not too soon, is it? It's 20 fucking years ago.
Oh, it's fucking history, guys. I don't know.
I'm just making a joke, by the way, guys. I'm not being insensitive. I fucking watched the documentary on Netflix and cried again, okay? And I remember where I was when the world stopped turning, okay? So don't fucking ask me. I know exactly where I was.
FIFA 22 banned you for being a terrorist.
Oh, boy. Next nugget here, Travis. The Taiwanese Games Rating Board has a new PS4 and PS5 listing for popular co-op PvE shooter Deep Rock Galactic, meaning that an announcement is imminent. It actually, I looked it up. It actually looks pretty neat. You have to look it up. It's a co-op game. You're like dwarves, and you like go into and you like it's a shooter, and you like go into like caves and like mine shit and build shit. I don't know. It's cool.
Why are we dwarves?
I mean, why not?
Are there trophies?
Oh, of course.
Oh, that I'm interested. We can be space cadet midgets.
Sounds like a Grand Theft Auto in-game TV show.
Do the guns look really big on them because they're so tiny?
I don't remember that part. I'll send you a trailer. The leading PlayStation 3 emulator called RCPS3 announced this week that every PS3 game and app can now run through the emulator. Although a big caveat, however, is that not every game can play on the emulator, and that is still a work in progress. They were just trying to say that, hey, we have every game on here now, and it'll start, but now the next step is to get every game playing. So they're just showing that they're making progress.
That's fair.
Yeah. Media Molecule has added all of the content from Little Big Planets 1 and 2 to Little Big Planet 3 for free after having to shut down the older game servers due to security issues. Pretty cool of them. The Resident Evil Village Castle and Village demos are making a comeback for Halloween and are now available on PS4 and PS5. Doom Eternal's Horde mode will launch alongside update 6.66 on October the 26th.
Here's this one.
Clever. Oh boy. Website Gematsu reported that Yudawaru Mano series publisher Aquaplus has launched a countdown website for something that ends on October the 26th. Probably butchered that. Open World Survival MMO The Day Before, which looks interesting, will come to PS5 sometime after its PC release on June 22nd of next year. Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation Code Fairy will launch worldwide on November 5th for PS4 and PS5. Third-person shooter Knives Out Extreme from Chinese developer NetEase, or Chinese publisher NetEase, is headed to PS4 and PS5 sometime in 2022. Looks like a mobile game. 3D platformer Demon Turf will launch on PS4 and PS5 on November the 4th. Publisher Curve Digital has rebranded as Curve Games, and they are the publishers of games like The Ascent, Inhuman Fall Flat, and numerous other indie titles. Free-to-play multiplayer dragon battle game Century Age of Ashes will release on PS4 and PS5 sometime in 2022, featuring cross-play and cross-progression. That game looks and sounds awesome. Rhythm action game Clang 2 will launch on PS4 and PS5 on November the 17th. Blood Rain Revamped and Blood Rain 2 Revamped will launch on PS4 on November the 18th, and those are vampire games, Travis. Get it? Revamped. demon-slaying action-adventure game Infernax was announced for PS4 and will launch sometime in the first quarter of next year. The fourth entry in the finale to Season 1 of the Dark Pictures anthology is called The Devil in Me.
That's what you've been waiting for.
There it is. Holy shit. Shoot 'em up game Cotton 100%. Terrible name.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's what the fuck. We'll launch it digitally on PS4 on October the 29th. Concerned Ape, also known as Eric Barone, the creator of mega hit life simulator Stardew Valley, has announced his next game called Haunted Chocolatier, and it will come to consoles at some point in the future following
Eric
release
Barone?
on PC. The guy's real name is Eric Barone. He goes by Concerned Ape as a developer. Yeah. Also, Among Us will come to PS4 and PS5 on December the 14th, including all previously released content and updates and cross-platform play. The PlayStation versions will also include Ratchet and Clank as playable characters. Newly rebranded Focus Entertainment has acquired Shady Part of Me developer. This is French. I should know this. Douze Dixième, which means 10 12th.
Oh. I thought it was.
Sorry. That means, I'm sorry. That's wrong.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it's 12/10th. That's what that means.
It's French. Lost a war.
That's 12/10th. That's a stupid studio name, but it sounds cool in French, I guess.
Doozy Dix Me's sounds better.
Douze Dixième.
Douze Dixième. That sounds like a road. You drive on that road, that's where you find the Nazi collaborators.
Oh, man, I speak French. That's my people. And finally, Travis, Epic Games Publishing announced that it will publish original games from developers Eyes Out, which is led by Corey Davis from Spec Ops The Line, and Spry Fox, the makers of hit life sim game Cozy Grove. And that is all for the news this week. I'll now turn it over to Travis for a very, very, very brief list of new game releases. Go ahead.
On the 19th, we have Space Break 2, Tony and Clyde, which is the gay version of Bonnie and Clyde.
There actually might be.
We have YouTuber's Life 2, because in the first life you kill yourself, and then on this one you get a second chance. On the 22nd, we have My Friend Peppa Pig for you dads and moms out there. And finally, we have the Dark Picture anthology, House of Ashes.
House of Ashes. All right. There's got to be more games than that, but that's all that Push Square had for us this week. So that's all the new games. Let's now begin to wrap the show up here, Travis, by discussing what we have been playing and if there's anything that we're looking forward to. What have you been up to?
Well, you weren't on one night, and I was like, man, I'm going to grind on 2K, my team, and get a business Ascension board. So I bought a couple of guys and did a bunch of challenges and got like Vin Baker, got back to the Ascension board, which was my goal. And then the last thing I wanted to do was get a gold deluxe pack before the season ended, which ended yesterday. Yeah. So I got back on the board. I had like 8 picks. Mind you, I got to the very top of the Ascension board, which has 3 levels, on my first try. So I've been stuck there since the game came out. And I've literally flipped like 10 cards. I probably had half of the board uncovered. Didn't get anything. Like all I was getting was like 200 credits, like 300 credits. I wasn't getting like a double credits or an extra draw. I wasn't even getting fouls to get knocked off the board. I was just getting credit pulls. It was ridiculous. So that was annoying. But basically, I made all my credits I spent on the players. I roughly made out about the same. When you consider what I made off the Ascension board and what I made by winning the triple threat games and whatnot. So it kind of bounced out. And then I got my gold deluxe pack the other day and I opened it up, and the best thing I got was a 72 overall player, which made me want to choke slam Ronnie and then like just shit on his forehead, because like it's ridiculous. Yeah, like you mean I got 42,000 XP. And the best thing you could give me in a gold deluxe pack was fucking Jawan Morgan, who's a 72 and he's a gold. That's retarded. Like, blow me. So anyway, other than that, I played a little GT Sport this week. Yuki Tsunoda, who drives for AlphaTauri in F1, put up a time at his home track in Japan. AlphaTauri is the race engines are Honda. So it was a Honda NSX was the car. And he did a time around the track. So I watched the video and his time was like 2 minutes, point 0.6. And I was like, I could do that. Like, about I can do that. I mean, like, I can get in the ballpark because they did a challenge like a year ago with Max Verstappen and Alex Albon. And like when they did their times, I was like, yeah, I can't do that. But this one I thought I was within the realm. So a YouTuber I follow did it on his second lap. And I was like, oh,
Jeez.
okay, well, that must not be too hard. So, again, I looked it up. I hadn't played the game in 5 weeks. I hadn't turned the game on, so I'm a little rusty. So, the immediate thing I find out is that car likes to slide when you downshift, and it doesn't matter where you put the brake balance, it wants to slide. So, I put the brake balance back to try to keep the back end from moving, which helped a little bit. But my first lap, I was 8 seconds off, which is a fucking lot.
Yeah,
And
it is.
but I wasn't going hard either. So I was like, all right. So then I spent probably 6 or 7 restarts where in the first turn I just lost control and spun out. Like I'm not kidding. It was like first turn, breaking point, 180, 180. Kept making the same mistake. I was like, why am I doing the same thing? So I decided to drive a slow lap just to get around the track. I was 4 seconds faster driving slow. So now I'm
What the
4.5
fuck?
seconds away from Yuki. I'm like, all right. So I did a couple more laps. I wasn't really that much faster, so I went and started watching the people on the leaderboard. So it's a worldwide leaderboard. So everybody on there, if you follow Gran Turismo, like the World Championships that they do, it's people you've heard of. It's like Igor Fraga is on there, who's like a legitimately really fast. James Baldwin's on there, like people that are really really good, sim racers. And I'm watching them race, and like the skill gap is unbelievable between like what I see and can do and what they can do. It's like, and the thing is the skill gap between them and an actual real driver is just as big. So it's like it's
Right.
hard to fathom how far away you are. But you know, again, I've been sim racing for like 2 or 3 years, and they've been doing this for a long time, so I should be slow. But um, they were running like 155s. So I was 13 seconds off the world record on my first
Jesus.
attempt, which is usually I'm within 2 seconds of the top time in my region. So to be 13 off is quite alarming. But anyway, I got down to like 202. So I got down to about uh, a second and a half, 2 seconds off of Yuki's time, which I consider to be pretty good. I was still 7 seconds off the world record, but I cut that time in half from when I started to when I ended. So I was pretty happy with that. I didn't try it again. I probably could have gotten faster, but I didn't try it again. What I actually ended up doing was doing a couple of races. There was the branch hatches hatch. I can't think of what it's called now. Brands Hatch. They have an Indy layout, and it's a lot of fun. It's really fast, but it's really good for slower cars because you can just drive them like flat out to the wall, and like they're not powerful enough to like kill you, so you can like just do some pretty fun things in them. And they were using a Alpine from the 1970s as the car that they gave you, which I happen to have, and it was so. You want to talk about a slidey boy? It like did not want to drive. I was all over the fucking place. So I do the first race. I started 11th. I got up to 5th, and I ended up finishing 9th because I did like a 180 in the middle of a turn. And I was like, that was fun. Let's do it again. So while I was waiting, I was doing a time trial to try to qualify better, and I noticed that the traction control was on, which I never have it on. So I was like, "Oh, that's weird." So I turned traction control off, and then as I'm turning it off, I'm like, "This is gonna be really hard to drive," because like with traction control, I was on ice, and I turn it off, and it handles like a dream. I don't know what that was about. I don't
Weird.
know.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was like the opposite effect, but I got like 2 seconds faster on my quality time. Got into the race. I was running like 4th for most of the race, and then a guy from Mexico passed me. He like I had the racing line, and he like nudged me out of the way. And
Hmm.
I was like, okay, that's fine. So whatever, I'll catch him. No big deal. I'm faster than him. And he braked really early in the next turn, and I tapped him. Well, then I got annoyed. So in the next turn, I just pushed him out of the way. So fast forward to coming down the hill into the hairpin, he just ran me into the wall. So that's how that race ended. But yeah,
Nice.
so typical GT Sports, exactly like it's always been. It's kind of dead to me. They're
It's
they're they're
dead to me.
doing they're doing a season right now. I thought about doing it, but like I'm ready for the new game, and it's like it's hard for me to get motivated to play it. At this point, it's been out for 4 or 5 years, and it's just like nothing about it is really new to me anymore. So whatever. And then we actually played some Hell Let Loose.
Mm-hmm.
With some of the squad we've managed to find
Mm-hmm.
organically through the server. Last night was the worst game I played. Like I told you this morning, my ping was like 150, and when I looked at the scoreboard, a bunch of people's pings was over 100. I saw floating bombs. I saw spinning bombs. The tanks were moving like they'd be moving normally, and then they'd kind of jerk backward a little bit and then jump forward. Like
Mm.
so, I think that was part of it was the connection. Because there's a few times I was shooting at people and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not hitting them, and then I would die. So I wonder if I must have been lagging maybe.
Yeah.
But towards the end of that round, I actually did play a lot better. I settled down and seemed to find a bit of a groove, and we were defending a couple of spots in that town. So we were playing Karine,
Carentan?
whatever. And
I guess that's how you say it. I just, yeah.
so anyway, yeah, I mean, I like that map. It's also the first time I've been on that map, so that might have been part of it too, is trying to adjust to the sight lines and
Mm-hmm.
knowing where the killing lanes are and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun with that. We got to shoot some people. It was like the first time I'd experienced like a levelation on that game where we had people on a second and third floor of buildings, and
Oh, yeah.
that was a lot of fun. And then of course at the end of the game, it kicked me off of the server right at the end after the game had finished. It didn't give me any of my points, which was annoying. But yeah, I mean, the game's just a blast. It's so much fun. It's funny listening to guys strategize about where to go and where to be at, and it's like there was a point where we all redeployed and dropped on an airdrop in enemy territory because we were trying to take over this capture point, and of course they ended up taking the one we just left while we were over there. But
Yeah.
it was cool to redeploy and land, and then see 15 guys populate from different squads, and it's like, all right, we're gonna go hit this thing. We're moving as a unit. Stuff like that's a lot of fun about that game. It's just so much different than the other shooters.
I agree. Yeah. I'm still, I'll pick up there since you talked about it last, but it scratches an itch that other shooters don't, even Battlefield and that sort of thing. It's just more methodical, more tactical, a little bit slower paced, I guess is the way to put it, but it's very enjoyable. I don't even keep track of like how good or bad I'm doing in terms of kills or deaths. Like it's not that type of game, you know. I'm just playing, trying to win, and trying to play the role that I am in the squad, whatever. And I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And the other night, I guess last night when we played or whatever, we were kind of getting spread out a little bit. But
Mhm.
when we got back together, we were playing a lot better when we could get back together as a squad and not be spread out on the map. But man, I love that game. And there's still maps that I haven't played.
Right.
Uh, I don't think, but I mean, you can only pretty much play like one map at night because it takes like an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to play. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
only drawback is that it takes a while. Like you can't just play like a couple boards for 20 minutes and then go. Like you just can't. So
Mhm.
that's maybe the one drawback of the game, but
Yeah.
really
It
enjoying
allows you
it.
to be it allows you to be patient though, which a lot of games don't allow you anymore. Even single player
Yeah.
games don't necessarily allow you to do that, but it allows you to be patient and think and like
Yeah.
strategize, which is nice.
Yeah. I agree. It's a good point. And then I also played NBA 2K22 this week, quite a bit. The season wrapped up, like you said, and now we've got a new season. I played it some tonight already before we're recording the show here. I'm at level 15 on the new season.
Oh my god, it's been 2 hours.
Don't worry, don't worry about that. I'm at level 15. I'm already on the top level of the ascension board, and
We gotta get you a hobby.
man, this is my hobby, and so yeah, it's very enjoyable. I'm glad to have a new season of content. It was kind of drying up a little bit for me there because I was waiting on the new season to have some more challenges and stuff to do. So very very excited about that. Looking forward to that quite a bit. And I didn't write it, forgot to write it here on the notes, but I mentioned the vampire game earlier, getting the 60 frames update in 1440p. So I downloaded that. I'd played it for just a little bit a while back, and I wanted to see what this upgrade was about. So I downloaded it, played it for a couple of hours this week, and just to give it another shot. And I think the game is really cool. I think the premise is really cool. There's not a whole lot. I mean, there's not very many games that I've played in the past decade that are vampires. So the premise is very cool, but here's my problem with the game. It is 90% a dialogue simulator. It's like LA Noir on steroids in a way.
Okay. So it's
So
like being married.
yeah, it's like being married, yes. And there is combat and everything and all that, but it's maybe it gets better the further you get into the game. I don't know, but the combat was very sparse for me, and there's just so much conversation and so many dialogue choices. I was like, oh my God, I'm just not into this right now. I couldn't do it. So done with that for now. Done with that for probably not for now, but for good. I'm not gonna go back to it for a third time. But I did download Greedfall, which is like that RPG
Mhm.
kind of open world, like almost like The Witcher 3, like a poor man's Witcher 3. I did download that. It's on sale, so I got the PS5 version of that. I'm looking forward to possibly checking that out this week. But I think I'm going to get sucked into NBA 2K and leveling up the season because the diamond player, Travis, in the season is Adrian Dantley from my Utah Jazz. So
Not a
got to
top
get that.
75 player. Oh, it's Alex English. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah, I got to have it. Got to have it. So anyway, that's about all we've got. So let's get out of here. If you guys enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and rate and review, like, thumbs up, whatever, heart on your podcast service or YouTube, wherever you're listening. We would very much appreciate it. Also, if you'd be kind enough to share us with a friend or a loved one who you think may enjoy the PlayStation podcast, such as this, where they can get all of the news, rumors, and more in less than 90 minutes every week. And then also, don't forget to hit us up on social media. We'd love to hear from you and just hear about the show or just talk PlayStation. Either way, it's all good. You can find us on Twitter at the DualSense Pod, Instagram at the DualSense Podcast, Facebook, the DualSense Podcast, the YouTube is DualSense Podcast, everything. Just find us. And then also our website on WordPress, our blog. You can keep up with our episodes there as well. And also our pretty little mugs, our pretty faces are there as well. So anyway, hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in and listening, and we'll talk at you next time.